wine friends, welcome back to another episode of your weekly wine picks. I'm Amanda, and once again I'm bringing you 2 more wines that you can find on wine.com, click purchase, and have shipped right to your doorstep. Now, if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen this series before, I recommend watching some of the other videos that I've done so you just get a better understanding of why I'm doing this and specifically why I'm using wine.com. So last week I did 2 wines for you and for mom for Mother's Day, or just for every day. Those are fantastic rosés that I hope you enjoyed. This week we're kicking it up a notch. Today I've selected 2 of the great white wines of the world that if you are a collector or aspiring collector or wine connoisseur, you need to have these in your collection. They are not from Burgundy, they are not from Bordeaux, and they are not from California. They're from 2 regions that you might have ignored in the past, but you definitely shouldn't. Wondering what they are? Let's get started. This is Château Simone from Provence in the south of France. The dominant grape in this is called Claret, then with a little bit of Grenache Blanc, Uni Blanc, Brut Blanc, and then Muscat Blanc, so a lot of Blancs in there. This wine was actually introduced to me at a little restaurant in New York called Jean-Georges, and I was sitting there having lunch, and a friend of mine who was working as a somm poured me a glass of their rosé, and I had never heard of the producer, I didn't know about it, but he said, this is one of the great wines of the world, and if you're gonna be in the wine business, you should know about it. So he introduced me to this wine years ago. Malt rosé is very traditional in the south of France, in Provence. This rosé was very unusual. It was like nothing I'd ever had before, so I was immediately intrigued. And since then, I've been a fan of Château Simone, but it's very small production. They don't make a lot of wine, so when it comes out, I usually scoop it up as fast as I can. When this popped online on wine.com, I was really excited and I jumped on it immediately and said, you guys definitely need to know about this wine. What makes this wine so special? So it's a tiny little AOC and palette. These vines have a combined average age of about 50 years. Fairly old vines, they only make about 4,000 cases of the white. It is one of Southern France's undisputed Grand Crus. It is truly one of the most remarkable wines I've ever tasted out of there. You can see the color of this wine is very interesting. So this is a 2013, so it's already quite golden in color. It smells a little like beeswax. It's got a slightly honeyed quality to it. It's a little bit floral. The nose reminds me a little bit of Chenin Blanc. So if you're familiar with any of the wines from the Loire Valley, like really great Chenins, it's not quite as honeyed as that. There's a real depth of aroma. So even as many times as I go back to the wine, I keep getting different things out of it. But there's a real mushroom quality to it. It's a very earthy wine, despite having all of that waxy florality. And then on the palate, there's sort of a richness and a density to it, but the acid is incredibly bright and high on this. It sort of lifts the whole thing up and makes it not so viscous and weighty. I'm really kind of breaking a cardinal rule by drinking this so young. It's kind of like drinking great Burgundy young, but I had to try it. It craves age, and this wine will want to be aged for at least 10 years. It does see quite a bit of oak, but it's not terribly apparent. There's a roundness to it, but it doesn't taste like an oaky Chardonnay. Truly one of the great white wines of the world. Buy it while you can. I mean, this wine sells out very quickly. I was very surprised to see it on wine.com. There's so little of it made. It's really one of like the hidden gems of the wine world. Just one of our little secrets that I, of course, am sharing with you. A wine of this caliber and quality should not be this inexpensive. So freaking good. Tyrrell's. You don't know it, get to know it. This is their single vineyard HVD Hunter Semillon 2010. This is also around $50, and another wine, despite the screw top, don't be fooled, is an amazing wine that can be cellared for many, many years. Trust me, I've had them with 10 to 15 years on them, and they're absolutely incredible. It smells like that first day of summer where all the flowers are like perfectly in bloom. The clementines are like kind of sweet but tangy. It kind of has that on the nose, but it's also very honeyed, very acacia, very floral. Obviously the color is a lot more bright, a lot less of that golden color, a little bit more yellow and straw. So zippy, a lot less roundness on it than the Château Simone, a lot more lift, but there's depth and complexity here. If you're somebody that loves like great white Bordeaux, this is something you should definitely consider adding to your collection. People think of Australian wine, they always think of red, they always forget how great the whites are, but I really fell in love with these wines. I think they're fantastic. A great complement to any serious wine collector's collection, or not so serious. I'm not that serious a wine collector, so. The vineyard was planted in 1908, so it's got some serious age on it. God, there's an incredible minerality to this. It's kind of like licking wet rocks. And I'm sorry to be such a cliche someone saying that, but it does. It's like really rocky and minerally. To me, being able to buy a great bottle of white wine for $50, that's a huge feat. Wine is incredibly expensive to make. We sometimes forget, and I'm guilty as well, of what it takes to make a really great wine. So to me, having a vineyard and sustaining a vineyard that's over 100 years old, being able to make a wine from that and then being able to sell it for $50, I mean, I don't know how they make their money. But the caliber of winemaking in both of these wines is just unbelievable. And the fact that you can get them in your hands for that price is just mind-blowing to me. And that's kind of the beauty of seeking out other regions and other varietals. I hope that was interesting and informative and gave you a little insight into what I would consider some of the great hidden gems on a wine list. So I'm curious, what are some of your favorite varietals? What are the regions that are really exciting to you? Tell me what you guys are thinking in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been really fun. And I hope to see you again next week. Cheers. Oh, that is so good.